Welcome to our last lecture for Lesson 3 and Chapter 2 altogether. We're going to be talking about the universe, the structure of the universe. And obviously, this is not going to be super in-depth because it's just a short lecture, but I want to give you an overview of how everything in the universe is structured together. We've talked about our planet, we've talked about our sun, Earth, moon system, our solar system, kind of gotten out of that and talked about different solar systems and their proximity to each other. And then we've talked about galaxies. So let's kind of move up a notch and see how things are structured as we move away from our galaxy, move a little bit further up the chain. So in space, in our universe, you have a number of galaxies that come together in what's called a group. It can be around 50 galaxies together, a little more sometimes, maybe 100, but they're kind of held together held together by gravity. Just so similar to the way that a solar system is held together, or a galaxy itself is held together. Groups are held together. Now, our galaxy, the Milky Way, is part of what's called the local group, or the local galactic group. So you can see here is our galaxy and a number of other galaxies, the M110, the Andromeda Galaxy, the Triangulum Galaxy, just a number of different stars and galaxies kind of out there together. And this is our local group. This is where we are. So if you zoomed into this spot here, you eventually would come right to Earth. Now then, groups form clusters. So within a cluster you have maybe 1,000 galaxies. So they move from galaxy to group to cluster. And you can see, there's quite a few. Each of these spots here represents a galaxy. That's a pretty big structure. Again, held together by gravity. In between this intergalactic space, here you have an intergalactic medium. Now, it's not going to be as concentrated as, say, the interstellar medium, or even within a galaxy itself. But it's not just empty space, but it is a lot less concentrated, a lot less dense. Some places, the space between galaxies can be as few as 1 atom per meter. So I want you to think about, a meter is about 32 inches. Think about 1 atom per meter. That's pretty sparse. But again, everything held together with gravity. And then after a cluster, you have what's called a supercluster. Here we have upwards of thousands and thousands of galaxies. Each of these spots, you can see spiral galaxies, you can see elliptical galaxies, and but each of these spots represents a different galaxy. So these are millions of light years across. We actually belong to what's called the Laniakea supercluster. So here's our local group within this, cluster, supercluster. So let's go back here. Here is our local group. There's the Milky Way. And then here is that local group in terms of its supercluster. So each of these is a group or a cluster. Here's a supercluster within a supercluster. So the scale here is just getting beyond what we can possibly even imagine in terms of size. Now notice here you have voids within them, because at this point gravity is not going to have the same kind of hold that it's going to have, say, in a smaller scale like your group. But there's still some hold. But because you have different densities in clusters and groups, and even different densities in galaxies, the amount of gravity is going to be not the same. So you will have some kind of voids, and plus all of this is also moving. You've got angular momentum, you have directional momentum, so all kinds of different movements. And so this is basically a living structure here that's constantly in motion. So these voids will change, but gravity and space itself are playing a part in how this is shaped. And when you move beyond a supercluster, and I know we're getting kind of to the point to where this size is just kind of impossible to imagine, but we have another size up, and that is the filament. So here we have kind of this is kind of a view of the Laniakea supercluster, but in terms of what's called a galactic filament. So you have superclusters and all kinds of different shapes kind of in this, and this is one visual representation, but this is the idea of a filament. So superclusters and dark matter and dark energy, you have these kind of voids in there. And here's kind of an idea of the timeline here. So I want to talk about the idea of dark matter. So here's a timeline of our universe, thought to be about 13.8 billion years old, but you have maybe 9 to 10%, maybe less, of the actual universe is made up of visible things, of visible matter, visible energy, and the rest of it is thought to be made of dark matter, dark energy. All of these voids that you see in here, this only represents a fraction of the universe. So there's more than we can possibly understand. So this is actually, since we can't properly visualize dark matter, this is just to kind of give you a representation of what it looks like. Now, something that's interesting I want you to think about is how we are made. What are we composed of? We've looked briefly at the periodic table, and I've had a few students ask, well, why are we always talking about chemistry? Because chemistry is everything. There is chemistry in everything. There are chemical reactions and physical reactions going on. Your body is composed of chemicals and all doing different things and interacting. And when you get older and you get into organic chemistry, you'll see just exactly what's going on inside your body. But where did those chemicals come from? Where did that matter come from? Well, it came from stars. Everything that we see in our universe is recycled. It's recycled atoms. It's recycled matter. Carl Sagan, who was a famous astronomer, said the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. So think about that when you think about the chemical processes in your body, and everything is just atoms being repurposed and reconditioned and rearranged. And even those atoms, when we talked about nuclear fusion, through nuclear fusion, heavier and heavier and heavier elements were made. So you started off with hydrogen, just one single proton, getting fused into helium, and then those combining and combining to get heavier and heavier things. And as these stars collapsed and exploded, sent these heavier elements out, and it formed the solar systems. So you see here, everything starting from this point and coming out, it's all just reorganized. I want to talk to you about the Big Bang Theory. Now, again, let's understand this is just a model that we have. No one was there 13.8 billion years ago to record this. But this is a model of the origins and the timeline of our universe. And so this is the theory that states that the universe began from one point, keep that in mind, one point, and has been expanding and cooling ever since. So here you have one single point thought to be just infinitesimally small, and everything, all matter in the universe came from this one point. So think about how concentrated, how dense that singularity had to be to contain enough matter to see this big expansion in our universe. So here's kind of a timeline. So from here, time is moving forward and space is expanding. So brings us to the question, where's it all going? There's a few different scenarios in which our universe ends, and that's kind of a dark thought, but that's the way that it works. Scientists theorize that it's kind of headed in one of a few places. Here from the Big Bang, you have everything getting really big really fast, but then that kind of slows down and then it expands again, and it can end in something called the Big Rip, where everything just kind of comes apart, or the Big Crunch, where everything just kind of comes back together. How will it end? We don't really know, but this is the current thoughts on the matter.